back to the Leaderonomics show. Today we have Chang Kim with us, who is the founder of Open Web Asia and also works at Google. Chang, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What brings you here to Malaysia?
So I've been invited as someone who started this whole conference, Open Web Asia.
So you're here for the Open Web Asia conference?
Yes.
How did you end up in Google?
So I was initially working at Samsung Electronics, and then I co-founded a startup in Korea.
Okay. And what was the startup?
That was a blogging company.
Blogging company?
Yes, blogging software company. And then that got acquired by Google in 2008. So that's how I
ended up with Google. So you got acquired.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how did you successfully start up a company that was I guess was made it big, I guess, in the sense that Google has picked it up. How did that happen? What's the what was the process involved?
So I think we were, first of all, we were pretty lucky, I guess. And second of all,
it's not just luck, right?
Yeah, I mean, what we try to do is, just to, focus on building the, best software out there. So we didn't really, pay too much attention to how do we, become rich, or how do we, make gobbles of money.
So you focus solely on getting the stuff out the door.
Getting the stuff right, and building the right service and software. That's what we focused on. And then after a year or two, Google, somehow found us, and then at that point we were starting to talk about, hey, how do you guys think about coming to Google?
So Open Web Asia was something that you founded. How did that happen?
So this was before the Google acquisition happened, and then it's funny because I was writing my blog in English and in Korean. In my English blog, a lot of people were asking me about, hey, is there any good conference I can go to in Asia, right? And I was like, hey, well, there's this very good conference in Korea, and they would be like, hey, well, is that in English then? And I'm like, no. And then I just found out that there are a lot of nice conferences in Japan, Korea, China, Malaysia. But first of all, I can only speak from Korean perspective. I mean, obviously out here, a lot of things are in English. But back then I was just representing sort of Korea mostly, and I was like, I don't think we have a lot of nice very good English-based conference in China, Japan, Korea. So that means it's really difficult to bring the people over from China, Japan, Korea together, because each of us speak different languages. So I was getting tired of not being able to answer there's this good conference. So I was like, hey, why don't we just start one?
And so that's how the whole conference came about.
Yes, I wrote a short piece. It's like an open letter to readers of blog, and then I was getting emails and replies saying that they want to help out too, because they feel the same way. So that's how it got started.
Fantastic. So the first conference was in Korea?
It was in Korea.
Okay.
But it was a very international conference.
Right.
We didn't have a lot of Korean speakers. Most of them were from in China, Japan, and the U.S., Europe. So it was a very international conference.
And this year is in Malaysia.
This year it's in Malaysia.
Fantastic.
Yes. And then
so what exactly is Open Web Asia? I mean, what do you guys do?
So the one line sort of catchphrase is the truly Pan-Asian web conference. Because if you go to Europe, there's LeWeb, which is happening in Paris, but it's really a pan-European web conference. In the U.S., obviously, U.S. is a bunch of conferences, and then it's just one country, and then it just happens to be more international because a lot of people from Europe and Asia also go there, Web 2 Expo, for example.
So this is web-based. I mean, it's really about
web,
the developers,
and IT. Web and IT both are really grand terms, but so right now, and the line between web and mobile is blurring. So it's really about
this whole space,
right?
This whole space of fantastic. So as you kind of look back at your past, and let me just cue in. When you started up your business originally, your first startup, what were some things where I'm sure you had to hire people, right? What were some characteristics or some traits you look at people you hire?
So the good thing was that this company that we co-founded, there was an original founder, not myself, and he and I were partners, and then he had this knack for finding the good people and hiring.
And then you had the knack for programming.
No, I was
for
more
blogging.
on the business side. But
okay, on the business side,
he came from this, good computer science program in Korea, and then he has a lot of friends and from his college, and then he was really doing the heavy lifting for recruiting there.
Okay.
So I think it's always nice to have a co-founder
who has that ability. But what is there specific areas? I mean, you look at in terms of attitude or so on.
Yeah, interesting because we were a blogging company, but we were doing a lot of hiring through blogs.
Okay.
So we were sort of eating our own dog food. Okay. So I mean, we really believe blogs is a very good way to sort of express your personality. So I mean, there are a lot of companies that are doing hiring through looking at social media channels, not necessarily Facebook and Twitter only, because it's really about your personal life. But blog, you put up a lot of professional content there. So it's really a very good way to find out who this person really is.
One interesting thought is in Korea, Malaysia, all these Asian countries, there are a couple of startups who have made it, but generally we don't see a mass of extremely successful startups versus some of the in the US and some of the Western countries where there's a lot of startups that make it big and make it global. Why is that? I mean, is this something?
That's the question I'm asking to everybody here.
but do you have a sense of why? Are we missing the boat on something in Asia?
This is my answer, but I don't think really there's any good excuse for that. I mean, it's really the guys who are here have to step up their game, because it used to be all this information that was really happening, what's really happening in the Silicon Valley, that really kind of stayed in the Silicon Valley, and then it was really a matter of who do you know, right?
So in Asia it's really a issue of us stepping up the game.
Yes, I mean, it used to be that way, but not anymore, because everybody out here is reading the same tech blogs, Tech Crunches and Mashables.
So there shouldn't be an excuse.
They shouldn't be any excuses. So I think it's really the onus is on us, and we have to really
step up the game.
Yes.
So it's really about Asians stepping up and getting the play.
I just believe that.
Speaking of stepping up, if let me ask you a question of advice. If I'm a young graduate or young student just coming out of school and getting into the workplace, what advice would you give me to be successful?
So there are two actually advices that I can give, both to the those people who are still in school and fresh out of school. So those who are in the school, I mean, I can speak this from a Korean perspective, because a lot of students, college students in Korea, unfortunately, they don't really sort of venture out, but they sort of continue their study because they have to get good grades to get into good good companies and so on. So it's like a lot of students keep their heads down and do a lot of studies, which I think is really, really unfortunate, because college is the time when you go out and explore the world and gain wild experiences. Not necessarily drinking, but a lot of this wild experiences. Just go about the world and find and explore. Those people who just came out of the school, I think I really have to pass the advice that I got from other people. So shine in the small thing. So a lot of times when you graduate from school, the task that you're given with may not be grand tasks. It could be not necessarily
could be menial
or
tasks,
making coffees, but could be a little.
But your advice is to do really well at that.
Do it really well and
job.
Shine in
even the
small
little
things.
Fantastic.
So that way you can get reputations, and a lot of people
and you
try
build
to
your
help
personal
you out.
brand and so on. Fantastic. Well, final question. If I'm a CEO of a startup and I'm trying to make it big, I'm trying to sell it to Google and Yahoo and those guys, what advice would you give me?
So one word, I think. I mean, to the tune of this conference topic, globalize. I mean, a lot of. And dream big. I mean, the key difference between those entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley or some other parts of the world and the people here is the companies in Asia may not necessarily think global or think big from day one. So they just try to become the king of the hill in the local market, even though the local market is pretty small. So you have to actually think bigger, and then try to think global from day one. Yes.
Hey Chang, thanks a lot for your time. We
Thank
appreciate you.
Thanks a lot.
Chang Kim here on the Leaderonomics show.
Thank you.